All right, welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to another Epidose of the Ketogenic Fasting Project Gone Carnivore. My name is Tom. I'm going to take a moment to ask everybody to subscribe and hit the like button and the little bell for notifications. You're supposed to do that at the beginning of your videos, and I usually forget. So any subscribers I can get, I really appreciate. People, please leave comments and let me know how I can do better videos or what your experience is like. And today, I have a guest. My guest is Corina. I know her as Corina. We're pals on Facebook. We spent a lot of time in a group called Autistic Carnivores, and we spent a lot of time swapping scientific data and sending each other links to studies and discussing stuff like that online. So I thought, well, who better to have on the Ketogenic Fasting Project than my pal Corina? So Corina, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it took a while until I worked myself up to it because it's the first time ever recording.
Yeah. Yeah, it's intimidating the first time.
Mm.
I did a lot of videos where I didn't appear on camera. I did little slideshows and I did little voiceovers, and I was deathly afraid of like showing up on camera. And then one day, I just decided to do it, and I never went back. So
Mm.
I get it. I think I've had several people who said they want to do videos, and then they kind of chickened out. They didn't. They're afraid to do a little interview. So I understand. I was there once too. But once you get a few under your belt, and people give you some, tell you how much it helped them and how much they enjoyed it and stuff like that, then it becomes so rewarding. You want to do it again.
Mm. Yeah, you get used to it probably.
Oh yeah. I used to hate listening to my voice, but I listened to all these before I put them up to make sure nothing went wrong.
Mm.
After a few of them, you're like, yeah, you don't even think about how much you hate your own voice. So you're all the way in Switzerland, right?
Yes.
And it's 9 something at night there, and I'm in sunny Southern California. It's a little afternoon, almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So here we are having an international conversation about carnivory, veganism, autism, the whole ball of wax. So you're going to tell us a little bit about your story. Where does your story with all this begin?
Wow, yeah, it's a long story. So I mean I was a vegetarian at about age 20 because I saw some movies about animals being tortured, same old story. So, but it was just vegetarianism, and I stayed on that diet for about 18, 19 years. Um, and already then I noticed some issues like probably the soy wasn't so good for me. And dairy later. I became aware that I'm actually allergic, but that was many years later. So yeah, so I was a vegetarian for a long time, and already then I had some issues. I had a burnout in 2007, but and I was a sugar addict. That's another topic.
Mm.
uh, of course, here we have nice cheese, nice chocolate. I was so addicted to both of them, and 2007 I weaned off of both cold turkey at once, and
Wow.
that was so hard to do. And I almost went crazy the first month. Um, but I noted some little bit of a difference in the energy level because I mean, burnout, that's really no fun. And after eating, like my energy just went down. I had to sit for about half an hour, couldn't do anything. Yeah, and that fatigue hit, and constant exhaustion, depression, anxiety, many issues, like even as a vegetarian. Yeah, so that was that. And 2014, I had the idea I could try veganism. I watched Earthlings.
I watched that last night.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's a horrible documentary.
Narrated by Joaquin
Really?
Phoenix, of all people.
Huh? Say
I,
again?
it was narrated by Joaquin Phoenix. I noticed that at the end. I didn't know it was him. He was an actor that was famous for a while. Then he died of a drug overdose outside of a nightclub here in LA.
Oh,
Johnny Depp's nightclub, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I don't know. Sad because he was a talented actor.
yeah.
Or was that his brother? I forget. One of the one of the Phoenix brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what did you eat in a typical day when you were a vegetarian?
Um, oh, lots of bread, of course. And I mean, I tried the healthy type of uh like mm, yeah, I actually tried different forms of veganism. Um, you know, one doesn't work, you try the next.
Mm-hmm.
And I really tried everything organic, of course, lots of salads. Um, Unfortunately, lots of soy. At the time, I didn't know about goitrogens, and yeah, I had no idea about all that stuff.
I did.
Uh,
I used to eat
Lots of
edamame
fats.
and tofu and quinoa and brown rice all the time. I was like, oh, I thought that was all good for me, and I was just getting sicker and sicker.
Mm. Yeah, it doesn't make you healthy. You think it's a good food, and it's quite the opposite. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I even tried fruitarianism for a year. Um, yeah.
What types of fruits are available where you live?
Oh, actually everything, you know.
Yeah. It's a
Um,
global market, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So you buy, and I mean, Switzerland has a lot of fruits. Like in summer, you have strawberries, cherries, apples, everything. And then, of course, the other fruits, imported ones, um, mangoes and bananas, whatever. Yeah, so I try to detox, you know.
Mm.
And then went quite the other way. I felt good about 2 weeks as a fruitarian, and then after that, it went totally south. Like
Mm.
my teeth became so sensitive. I couldn't even brush my teeth with salts anymore. It was like burning almost.
Really?
Couldn't do that anymore. And yeah, and I cheated a lot on fruitarianism when I was in Great Britain in winter for a vacation. So
So
I had,
what's a
of
cheat?
course, I needed some warm food, so I cheated on that
So
fruitarian.
when you cheated, what did you eat?
Uh, yeah, they have a lot of vegan food, of course, like those burgers and whatever. They have really uh, a lot of possibilities in London,
Mm-hmm.
especially. You go to those vegan restaurants, you have many choices, and I wanted to try all those foods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're cheating on fruitarianism, but not necessarily on vegetarian or veganism.
No, I was really strict. As a vegan, totally strict.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, no issues there. But as a fruitarian, I cheated with vegan foods,
Gotcha.
cooked and not cooked. Yeah, whatever. Um, yeah, and then I had a debate in 2018, and that shook me quite a lot. But it took about 1 year longer until I was ready to give it a chance, and try some meat again.
Hmm.
That's how deep that indoctrination is, that brainwashing, and how guilty you feel to try meat again. It's really hard. Um, so only beginning of this year, I first tried some egg. Then I tried some salmon because I always liked salmon. Yeah, and so on. And then I introduced one after the other, and that was really that was so funny. I was in the health food store, and I was looking at the meats, and then I was so afraid. Oh, every moment some vegan will jump at me.
Traitor.
So much guilt, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, nothing happened.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, and then I tried first a paleo version. Um, that didn't work
Mm.
um, because I was still bloated, still many issues. Then I took away all the nuts, all the seeds, and then I heard about the oxalate issue,
The evil oxalates.
and then that was it. And then I stopped eating fruits. I stopped eating everything else, and just went for meat. That's when I became a carnivore. That was about April. Yeah.
April. Yeah, I
Mm.
think a lot of people aren't aware that, in particular, people on the spectrum, autistic people, have very high oxalate levels. It has
Mm.
something to do with an inability to eliminate oxalates from the system. So if you eat foods like, let's say, spinach or something that are high in oxalates, they tend to build up in your body, which is bad. So you form oxalate crystals. And I don't think anybody really knows why that is, but it's probably an important thing to note.
Mm.
So should we get into the pictures a little bit?
Yeah.
All right. So we got a picture. Let's see if I get this right. You see it?
Yes.
All right. So why don't you tell us about this?
Yeah. So yeah, on the left side, that was me as a vegan, and you can see I was really extremely pale, very dry skin, um, and that's just the face. Yeah, and I had so many issues, and that's the main reason why I tried meat. That's I could no longer pretend that I was fine on a vegan diet. Uh, for example, at work, I had back pain. I had to sit down after about 30 minutes of standing. I was in pain. I had to sit down and rest. I was constantly exhausted. Then migraines was an issue. Um,
I had a lot of back pain myself before
yeah.
carnivore. A lot. Really bad. So
Yeah, it's hard to deal with.
did you have a lot of digestive issues?
Yeah, that was one of the main problems. I was extremely bloated, gassy, and it always shifted from diarrhea to constipation, and I was feeling extremely uncomfortable in my body. I also had joint pains, chronic hip pain had developed, muscle pain, feeling sore after exercise. I couldn't exercise for a long time. Actually, since I had the burnout, I wasn't able to really exercise. I was always sore or got a migraine whenever I tried a little bit of exercise. Didn't work anymore. And before that, I actually ran some marathons. So the body was completely depleted, probably, of minerals. Yeah. And I on the vegan diet, I also had pre-diabetic symptoms. Like I had to run to the toilet all the time, was thirsty all the time, bad wound healing, all of that. Cold, constant cold. That and yeah, also hypothyroid symptoms. Yeah, it started really to worry me, and that's why I just had to decide, okay, I try the meat, and that was a true game changer. Not at first on the paleo diet, it didn't work so well because it's basically veganism with meat, the way I did it.
Ah,
And lots of carbohydrates, and that was my issue, the carbs. So yeah, I had to take the carbs away, and then you can see that's 2 months in carnivore. I'm on the picture, I'm sitting in a steakhouse in front of a steak, and that's why I smile. My first steak. And yeah, it took a while until the body adapted to being a fat burner instead of carb burner. It took a while, about 6 weeks at least. But then so many things started to change, and now I'm not in pain anymore. I have no depression. Actually, everything is gone. Joint pain. I can now exercise without feeling sore. I mean, it's not the way you exercise. I'm just lifting a little bit of weight, not much, just in the beginning. Yeah, but I'm feeling so good, and I really have hope now. Yeah, that's so much healing going on, and also the mood is so different than it was on the vegan diet. That's amazing. And yeah.
yeah, I kind of had a similar experience. Like you said, you used to run marathons. I was in the gym lifting a lot of weights. I did cardio too, but I got to a point where like I'd wake up the next morning and my hands hurt so bad I could barely straighten them out. And one day I couldn't even turn the doorknob to get out of my bedroom, and that's how bad my joint and muscle pain was. I eventually had to give up. So it took me a long time before I came around to a low carb and then a carnivore diet. But kind of in a lot of ways, they're very parallel stories.
Mm.
All right. So uh, my computer has a habit of double clicking on pictures, but this is the group that one of the groups we're in together. We're actually in a bunch of groups together, I guess. But
Yeah, almost all the carnivore groups now.
yeah, yeah. There's quite a few carnivore groups, but this one here is autistic carnivores, the one that we interact in a lot. So
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun.
lots of fun. Yeah.
Interesting discussions.
This, you said, was an influential book, The
Yeah.
Vegetarian Myth by Lierre Keith. I thought this was a fantastic book myself.
Mm. Yeah, I read that one right at the beginning when I was shifting into meat eating. Um, and yeah, as I said before, when you are in that brainwashed state, of veganism and you feel guilty about eating meat, and you don't want to do it, but your health problems push you to do it, that's the right book, because Leah Keys, she was in the same situation. I actually watched a video a few days ago where she explained she was the last one of her group of friends who caved in. She really didn't want to do it, and she was in so much pain and still hold on to veganism, because it's your identity and you cannot let it go so easily, and it's so hard to get through to this decision. So it's never easy to start to eat meat again. Yeah, and so that's the perfect book to read to pull you out of that brainwash state, and it also informs you about the whole ecosystem and about agriculture, and yeah, it's so much information in that book, so I can highly recommend it.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, about how there's kind of on one hand, she's sort of an angry, extreme feminist. On the other hand, she's an extraordinary realist when she talks about how she, through her own trials and tribulations of really committing to being a vegan, she discovered the truth that there's no food without death, and that meat is our real food, right? And it has been forever. And I think that kind of points to this thought that I always have, that veganism is really an attempt to deny what humans really are, right? And that's
Mm.
part of the impossibility of veganism.
Yeah, it's a completely unnatural diet for humans,
Right.
and
Exactly.
people get sick from it.
Yeah. People do get sick. It seems like the person that can thrive on a vegan diet is the rare sort of exception.
It's really an exception. I haven't met one.
And at the very least, most of them require supplementation, right?
Yeah,
Vitamins and
there
stuff.
are issues. Yeah, I have a friend, and she her vision got bad, and she has depressions, and yeah, there are a lot of issues she has. Um, Sad thing, she cannot stop.
Huh. How about Defending Beef? Now, this is a book I have not read. I read Leara Keith's book and did a little book report on it a while back, and I have a video on YouTube if people are interested. But Defending Beef, I have not read yet.
Yeah, I can also recommend it because it really talks a lot about how yeah, about soil health, and how important it is to do this kind of agriculture, including the ruminants. Leah Keys talks about this a lot in her book as well. Yeah, and this author, she is married to a farmer. She was, as far as I know, a vegetarian. I'm not sure if she was a vegan. I don't remember, but she is married to a farmer, so she knows a lot about this, and she also changed her mind um,
I'm
about.
pretty sure that they interviewed her on Human Performance Outliers. So if people
Yeah,
want to get a briefing on this, if you go to YouTube or just about any uh, podcast service and look for Human Performance Outlier, you should be able to see an interview with Nicolette Han Nyman. Her last name is Niman. As I recall, it's a good one. And I think you're right. She was an attorney or something like that, and she wound up marrying a cattle rancher and learning about cattle and modern cattle husbandry, as opposed to the dismal sort of uh, thing you might think goes on in a movie from like Earthlings. I watched last night. It's Earthlings is basically a horror show from start to finish, and you
Oh
think all
yeah.
the animal food is produced that way. So she paints a very different picture, and there's a lot of cattle ranchers, at least I know in the states here, that they take very good care of their cattle. They cattle have a good life. They're not tortured and abused and enslaved like people would have you believe. They're well fed, they're well cared for. And eventually, yeah, they're put down and they're turned into food. But they if they were lived in the wild, they'd be set upon by bears and wolves, and even birds of prey like eagles and stuff like that would be picking them off left and right. So
Mm. Yeah, they really have a good life. Now that.
do you think California or Switzerland has the happiest cows?
Oh, that's difficult to say.
We
I
have
mean,
these we have these silly TV commercials about happy cows here, so
okay.
I just thought I'd throw that one out there.
Yeah.
So here's a book on autism: How to End the Autism Epidemic by J.B. Handley. Now, we have a lot of discussions about the cause of autism, and I'm pretty sure neither one of us really thinks we know exactly what causes autism. But we discuss the symptoms, potential causes, and more importantly, it seems as though a lot of things that people presume cause autism actually just make the symptoms worse. So, did you have any thoughts on that or this book? Because I think you read this book just like I did, right?
Yeah, I read this one, but before I read actually the other one that is the total opposite of this one, neurotribes. Yeah. And this one talks about genetics and yeah, how probably autism has been around for a very long time. It's I found it a really interesting read. It gives you some autistic pride, which isn't too bad. It
Yeah.
helps you in that way. But exactly, this thing might be also a little bit negative about the book because yeah,
It kind of diminishes the problem that severely autistic people have, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we know that some people like ourselves are high functioning. We have jobs. We're able to take care of ourselves. We socialize, at least on Facebook.
At least on Facebook.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people are never going to make it to the computer, much less Facebook, and they can't take care of themselves, and their families or an institution has to take care of them all the time.
Mm,
They're never going to have relationships, or they're never even going to turn on the TV for themselves, much less make themselves something to eat. So those people are kind of excluded from the glory of that thing that people call autism or Asperger's, even, right?
yeah, and yeah, um, it's a bit of a difficult um topic maybe, but I have seen this in some autistic groups, the tendency of having that autistic pride and then wanting to optimize autism in any way, like that tendency to block out everything from the right food, which I find extremely important. So because even high functioning autistic people have still issues, health issues, depression, anxiety, meltdowns, all that stuff. And you can do a lot of optimizing with the right food, the right diet. So
I've noticed the same thing. People get offended when
exactly.
you talk about curing autism.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole level where how dare you suggest diet has anything to do with autism? Because they're
And
convinced it's caused by a vaccine or mercury or thimerosal or genetics or whatever. They're convinced that's the cause. Nothing else has anything to do with it. So you say, well, maybe if you change your diet, because like you and I have noticed, almost everybody with autism seems to have some sort of digestive issue. If you get on the right diet, you don't have digestive issues. You feel
exactly,
better. You
you feel
know,
better.
yeah. I know myself. I suffered from anxiety for a long time. I had no idea I even had anxiety till it started going away. You know, that's no way to live. And of course, a lot of people have depression, and a lot of people they they go on like a carnivore or even just a low carb diet, and their depression starts getting a lot better.
Mm,
And we both talked about like how much joint pain and muscle pain and stuff like that we had.
yeah,
Those all seem to go hand in hand because when you have autism, you tend to have other disabilities as well. Learning disabilities, uh, seizure um, problems with chronic seizures, digestive issues. Once you have one of those, you're likely to have more of them, unfortunately.
unfortunately, yeah. And then I will think so many people with digestive issues or depression, they could optimize a little bit of their issues with the right diet, and but somehow they're not interested, or it's too hard. I don't know what the issue is, but that book unfortunately has done a lot of damage in that way. So it's a good book to read. It helps you to feel good about yourself being autistic. That's the positive thing, but also it has a negative side, which was addressed in the other book, this one.
Yeah, yeah. I thought reading those two books, and then of course the other one is by I always forget if it's Timothy or I think his last name is Hotez, Dr. Timothy Hotez, I believe it's
Yeah.
uh, vaccines did not cause Rachel's autism. I believe. I think reading the three books is a nice sort of counterbalance to the conversation, which usually degenerates into vaccines either cause autism or they don't. You know, and I think there's a lot more to the story here. So.
Yeah, it's way more complex. It's not just those two issues.
And I suspect that both of us, if we had a message, it's like, hey, maybe instead of arguing about vaccines, try changing your diet, right?
Yes.
That is a really powerful thing. That's really how you change your quality of life.
Oh, yes. That's really so powerful.
All
And
right.
yeah, I'm glad I tried it.
Yeah, I'm glad you tried it too. If you hadn't tried it, we wouldn't have been pals on Facebook.
Yeah.
So, did you have anything else you want to talk about today? I'm sure we'll find another excuse to do a video together before too long.
Mm. Let me see.
There any other books that you really enjoy that you think people ought to read?
I mean, those the female autism type. It's really totally different, and I have investigated that for about a year until I came to the conclusion. And you really have to read the right books, because especially the one from Sarah Hendricks was helpful, Rudy Simon, Tony Atwood. They all wrote about female autism, and it's totally different. It has a different expression, and that's why, yeah, you go undetected. And for me, that was really a game changer, like paradigm shift, and suddenly everything made sense. And I understood why I had those struggled so much socially, and during school it was really hard. And so those are good books to read as well.
Yeah, we
But
could probably do a whole video just on that.
just on that, yeah.
Handful
Yeah.
of books, yeah, on that topic, sure. All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to have a little conversation with me.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome. I'm sure a lot of people are going to find this helpful. I'm always trying to sort of expand our little community of autistic adults, or trying to, and parents of autistic children and stuff like that, are trying to help each other, trying to improve the quality of life for people who have oftentimes had it pretty rough. So
Yeah. And support from a community can really help, and the Facebook group can help.
yeah,
Like a little family, and we can answer questions. You have a lot of experience anyway, a lot of knowledge. So
yeah,
it's
we're
really
kind of we're kind of heavy on when it comes to data. So if people like to read studies and talk about scientific papers and stuff like that, it's definitely a good group for that.
yes, very interesting.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So all you people out there ready to nerd out for a while, come see us at Autistic Carnivores. All right. Well, thanks again. I will talk to you soon.
Anyway, yes, thank you.
Have a nice evening.
You too, have a nice day.